Sheno. Of the fish here, waches. And thum huyas. So those are the beautiful...
It's a rainy day on Mayne Island, and Swatalitzia, a WSÁNEĆ woman, is teaching people how to say fish, frog, and dragonfly in Sinchothan, the language spoken by the WSÁNEĆ people. The word for frog, waches, is the one that has been locked in my brain ever since I learned it last year, because I remember listening for frogs on Mayne Island with my grandmother when I was a kid. What I don't remember is learning anything about WSÁNEĆ culture or people, because of course, like most non-Indigenous people who grew up on the coast, I wasn't taught it. But across our islands, people are working to change that in local, meaningful ways. On this episode, we're going to learn about one of those projects, bringing WSÁNEĆ culture back to Skathak. I'm Catherine Marlowe, and this is Vancouver Island. This is Vancouver Island is the name of a new podcast from CBC Victoria. Each week, we will bring you stories of life on the many islands, big and small, that make up our region, like Mayne Island, which the WSÁNEĆ call Skathak. That's where a new triptych of murals is standing, featuring chenu, fish, waches, a frog, and thum huyas, a dragonfly. They were painted by the WSÁNEĆ artist Sarah Jim from the Sycam First Nation. It's just one part of a project called Walking Forward with the Past. These days, Skathak has just over 1,000 residents. Just under 2% are Indigenous. And even though the Sartlip First Nation, one of the WSÁNEĆ nations, has reserve land there is no community of WSÁNEČ members living on the island. But not that long ago, things were different.
There was a village on Mayne Island just close to the ferry, and that's where there was, little winter homes or clam digging where people met to, berry pick and do harvesting for medicines, fishing, reef net fishing, etc. I'm Rose Behan. I'm here helping to correct the erasure of our people on Skathak.
Rose Behan is an independent curator who is both WSÁNEČ from here on the islands and Nklakkamuks from the interior. She lives in Greater Victoria, and right now, one of her jobs is curating the project on Mayne Island.
Walking Forward with the Past is the title we chose for this program, and it's pronounced Stangis Quintal Axia Techenqua in Sinchothan, meaning walking forward with the past. We've had great connection with the people of Mayne Island to correct the erasure of our First Nations people here on Mayne Island, Skathak. Coming off the ferry, you can feel the ancestors' presence, and it's like, there is a connection in my heart and in my soul.
You talked about correcting the erasure. What is your sense of what that erasure has been?
Many people don't know that there was a village. There is an actual reserve over here, and a lot of people don't know that. Even people that live here don't know that that's a reserve that is WSÁNEĆ land.
I have come off that ferry, 50 or 100 times in my life. Never knew until I saw it on a map this year that I was driving by that reserve land and what that had been for so long.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful place, and people do camp there still. A lot of the WSÁNEČ people do come over, and because of the deer, there was one of the artists going to collect stinging nettle for her weaving, for her dyes for her weaving, and the deer ate it all up.
Oh no!
She couldn't get any, so it's a problem here.
Yeah. Now there is something that islanders can relate to: deer eating your plants. The day I spoke to Rose, there was a community gathering to unveil the murals and to inaugurate an ethnobotanical garden where Indigenous plants will be introduced. And don't worry, there is a fence to keep the deer out. After the unveiling, everyone was invited to share celebratory cake and to learn about the new works. At an event last summer, community members and people visiting the island gathered to watch as the first of 2 welcome poles was installed. Each of the events is accompanied by ceremony, music, and dancing, all to bring WSÁNEĆ culture and language back to the land.
Helping with community bonding, and I think a little bit of truth and reconciliation that comes with that. I mean, I think we're doing a great job in helping each other with that, and it's very heartwarming. You know, I give hands up to the people that have helped organize and bring us together, and you know, the language and the singing and the art in itself is, you know, a throwback from our ancestors, and that's what is needed to happen.
Jennifer Iredale works with Rose. She's the project manager of Walking Forward with the Past and one of its founders.
It was probably just like a twinkle in a couple of people's eyes over here about 6 years ago. We'd already done a project with Jacinton and some of the WSÁNEĆ elders to create an interpretive kiosk outside, which you can see just outside the museum. And we realized that was just the beginning and we really needed to do more. And we really wanted to do a reconciliation project. So when an opportunity came up for a 150 Time Immemorial grant, it seemed like the perfect time to pitch that we would do these physical things and then also base it in a reconciliation ambience. So to make that all go from a bit of an idea to concrete things that we could actually propose, it was really important to speak first with WSÁNEĆ people who we wanted to work with, because you don't do anything without their involvement. So we involved Tomas and Charles Elliott, Chaz the younger, to see if he would be willing to carve a pole or poles. And we spoke with the Peckanout Foundation to see if they would be willing to work with us on creating the ethnobotany garden. And I also involved Jacinton, Quisinha, and Celelia, who are elders that I worked with previously in WSÁNEČ, and they're from Sartlip.
Now, she mentioned the grant they got to start the project. Funding is essential because things like this take more than good intention and good organization. It takes money to commission the work, to pay artists, to bring over performers since they don't live on Mayne Island. Now, the project is run under the auspices of the Campbell Bay Music Festival. And Jennifer says she's learned that arts organizations are a great place for reconciliation projects.
Yeah, we were able to actually apply for additional funding on top of the 150 Time Immemorial funding from a BC Arts Council, and that's actually what allowed us to commission most of the poles, and the CRD Arts Commission, which was what actually allowed us to do the Sarah Jim murals. So, you know, those funders have been very critical to the success of this work.
Now, the Halisat Youth Drum Group has taken the ferry from Swartz Bay to Village Bay multiple times to be part of the events. Swatalitzia, who we heard off the top, is one of their leaders. And here she is in the rain explaining the song we just heard.
The second song was a song that my Stotless, we call it a Shwalakwa stilo. You know, it's a family song. It's about being on that good path. The girls were clearing the path. We'll say it that we like to walk on the Ayala Soft, a very bright road, a very bright path in our lives. And they're paving that way for us, if you want to think it metaphorically. For us all to be able to walk on that beautiful, beautiful, bright path for all of us. And to love, you know, one another and as well as acknowledging family and how important family is. Skathak is, I have a lot of ancestral ties here. but also it's a home away from home. Our main village is in CBC and Aquachin and Jatla, but every time we come home we say Jeng Nongit, that we're managed and finally came home. And so I've been raising my girls with summers out here and just making sure that we have presence and connection here on this island, as well as been working on projects with Mayne Island settlers on reconciliation, and this is a part of reconciliation. And we've done many workshops on a project called Latleches, and some of the things was teaching settlers about indigenous plants, using language, and showing CBC presence here on the island, as we don't have a lot of CBC people living out here anymore because of colonization and assimilation and the reserve system and things like that. But our family is raising our children to know the lands here, and I'm just really happy at the partnerships that we've created with islanders here. But it's really important for people to know that these lands here still belong to the CBC people. Unceded territory, we never sold these lands, and we have a lot of connections, especially down here in Elalang, where our villages and our longhouses were. And so our people feel very, very connected to these lands here at Skathak.
Rose Spahan hopes that her project leads to more permanent spaces for WSÁNEĆ on Skathak.
This is just starting, this is just a scratch in what we can be doing. There could be a cultural center, there could be an art gallery, there could be many things that could happen with the artists and the knowledge keepers here to keep that going. It would be a nice place to put a memorial reef net pole in that space, because that's where it was, the reef netters. And to have a pole there, when the ferry passes, that would be great there. Hopes and dreams.
That's what starts it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to go back to Skathak and see Rose's dreams coming true. We might even be able to see some of them from the ferry while sailing through Active Pass. And I bet once the plants in the ethnobotanical garden are established, there will be more huacas hopping and singing on the island. And if you're on Mayne Island or Skathak, you can find the art installations and the garden on Fernhill Road. It's just a few blocks up from Miners Bay, which opens into Active Pass. So if you're coming from the ferry, you head down the hill into Miners Bay and then turn right on Fernhill Road as if you were to head in island. And just a few blocks up from there, you'll see the welcome pole at the Ag Hall on your right. And you'll see the little tiny Mayne Island Museum, which has the garden beside it and the murals behind it. That will be on your left. You can learn more about the project and about upcoming events by going to walkingforwardwiththepast.com. I want to say thank you, Haishka, to Rose, Swatalitzia, Jennifer, and the many others who spoke to me. I'm Catherine Marlowe. You have been listening to This is Vancouver Island, a new podcast from CBC Victoria. If you liked what you heard and want to help other islanders find this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review us on your podcast app. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next Tuesday with another episode.